What's up, guys? What's going on? This one's gonna be a full house. I could just tell from my AWD post I made next week. I think I ruffled some feathers here. I think we had a few hundred sign up for this bad boy, so I'm excited to see everyone. What's going on? Drop where you guys are. I wanna see it in the comments. Hit me up. I want to see it. I'm gonna be a lone wolf on this one. It was Amazon AWD, and I was like, you know what? I want to run the ship on this bad boy. I want to talk to y'all and see what you guys are cooking up and what Amazon AWD is about for you guys. It's been quite the controversial topic the past few months for the most part. So I'm curious what you guys are seeing. I'm also gonna upload. I got some slides. I also have our calculator that I want to show you guys. I don't know if you guys end up seeing it on LinkedIn, but I'm gonna drop it afterwards. Here, I'm just adding this material. What's up, guys? Lauren, Michelle, what's up, Michelle? What's happening? Melanie, Toronto, Stefan, Vancouver. Cool. Toronto, Irvine, California, San Fran. San Fran's nice, huh? Jean Paul, Miami, living, baby. LA, Vancouver, Florida, Pakistan, Ontario. Joe, great, man. We're in Ontario. Cape Verde. Simon, where's Cape Verde? That's in the US, right? Chicago, Calgary. Hello, Lakshita. Sabir, hello, LA. Texas. Martin, I'm trying to dabble in Texas. Tell me, email me where to go in Austin. I'm gonna be down there in a few weeks. I don't know if you guys saw West Africa. Damn, that's cool. I was in Chicago yesterday, and we were visiting one of the facilities, and then I'm in Ohio. I don't know if you guys saw. I posted my world tour on LinkedIn. I think Saiba, if you're in here, if you can drop my my world tour LinkedIn post. And if any of you guys are on LinkedIn, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to become LinkedIn famous there. But okay, cool, guys. One other question. We'll have you guys all cooking up here. We got a lot in this room today. Damn, I'm liking this. This might be one of our biggest yet. The Amazon AWD. I have kind of two questions for you guys. One, just yes or no. Do you guys use AWD? I'm curious now. Just Y or N. No. Yes. Nope. Yes, using AWD. Do all y'all know what Amazon AWD is? Like, I want to gauge the amount of not yet considering. My customer uses it. Yeah, Lakshita. Yeah, we have a few of our brands that use it too. No, got it. Gabri, no. Some of our SKUs are too large. Yeah, that's a big issue. Don't fully understand it. Okay, good. I'm glad. I want to pull up some of these slides. I got a couple of things. We have some other sellers that I'm gonna actually call on stage in a little bit, and I have this badass calculator that I don't know if you guys saw it, but we spent some time because we get a ton of questions about Amazon AWD, and it's a little bit. It's not there's not a lot of content about it online, so I'm gonna spend probably like 10-15 minutes. This is my formal rant, yeah. So grab your coffee and just listen in as I kind of go through my thought process. I didn't script much. I had the team just make a couple slides to kind of go off my points, but I want to spend 10 to 15 minutes just going through what I'm seeing with AWD, what happened during Q4, some of my personal suggestions. Just, we see 30-40% of the top 100 Amazon sellers and what they're doing. These are 100 million, billion-dollar Amazon brands. And they have very specific tactics that I want to show with you guys. And then afterwards, I built a calculator. So I'm going to share it with you guys at the end of the event, and I'll show you guys how to use it. And basically, you'll be able to take away how to calculate your AWD, Amazon AGL, which is the logistics, Amazon FBA. And then also, if you end up using us, like AMZ as a 3PL, you can also calculate those rates in a really simple format. And just drop me now, Amazon.com. You guys sell in Canada. I didn't set up all my polls. I'm usually, let me see if I can just add a quick poll here. Which part of the country, average shipping times? All right, I'll ask some questions afterwards. Primary growth channel. I'm curious what sort of audience we have in here. All right, let me rock through this. We got a full house, so I want to be. And guys, ask questions. I'm gonna hammer this for the next 15 minutes, and then ask questions. We're gonna bring a couple people on stage. I want to talk to y'all. I want to brainstorm and just talk about growth. I love doing these, and it's a Friday. Yeah, let's have some fun. Okay, agenda. What we're gonna be cooking up. What is Amazon AWD and what it is, how it works, so on and so forth. Pros of AWD, cons of AWD, how their pricing works, some of the limitations we've seen. and then their pricing model versus FBA, their pricing model versus a 3PL, and then let's try to figure out what's best for you guys, right? Kim, you mentioned some of the stocks too heavy. Sharon, you haven't seen it yet, so I'm curious what you're struggling with. Simon says not a clue. So we got a whole range. And I was just speaking to the reason I did this was two reasons. One, my LinkedIn post went crazy. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it had like 100,000 impressions. It had 500 plus comments. It was intense, and it was about like an Amazon AWD calculator. And just, I was like, hey, we use this because when we talk to really large brands, they're usually comparing us versus AWD. And I would tell them, but they want to see data. And I was like, all right, I got with my team. I built a cool calculator, and it blew up. It blew up. So it's really cool. Jeff, yeah, Melanie, everything's recorded. So after this on your email, take a look. And I think it will just drop you the recording from my understanding. This is the free calculator that I'm going to cover at the end of this bad boy. So you guys will all get access. And I'll spend a couple minutes going through it. If a brand actually wants to come up, we'll put into this calculator to show you exactly how expensive or how cheap AWD is. Okay. Question number one, what is Amazon AWD? So Amazon AWD is Amazon's warehousing and distribution program. It's different than FBA. The goal of Amazon AWD was that, Amazon long-term wants to control the entire supply chain. They're the behemoth. They're going to continue to eat it up. And they wanted to figure out, because what happened for years was that sellers would then send, they'd finish their product in China. They would either send it directly to Amazon FBA, right? And then you incur a lot of storage. Amazon FBA is not cheap from a storage perspective. They're a fulfillment company, not a storage company. Or you send it to, a 3PL, they bulk store it, you get charged monthly for storage, and then you slowly replenish Amazon. And this was just the model for years. But, sometime back, Amazon came out with a program and said, hey, we're going to build secondary facilities. They're going to be absolutely massive. And the goal of them is to do just bulk distribution, like carton in, carton out, pallet in, pallet out. It's not meant to ship orders to end customers. If you see like one of our warehouses, a lot of them are built with picking bins, and they're meant to like grab orders and ship them or prep products to the end customer. This is a bulk facility where picture just there's no bins. It's meant for just grabbing a box and we're going to send it to Amazon. We call this in the Amazon world carton forwarding or drip feeding to Amazon. So Amazon came with this program, and it actually integrates directly to your Seller Central. There's some other bells and whistles that they've put in place, like you can auto replenish. So it will, based off your Amazon forecast, which we'll talk about after. I have mixed feelings and reviews, but you can do an auto replenishment. And the other kicker is that there's no placement fees. So traditionally, if you're shipping from your own warehouse, and drop in the comments, what you guys know about placement fees, and I can happily explain it. But if you ship it yourself, there's a high likelihood that you're going to get hit with placement fees, which is basically the cost of splitting it to multiple different DCs, anywhere from 30 cents to a few dollars, Kim, if you have heavy stuff. But with AWD, they wipe the entire placement fee, and it's a part of their overall sell program. Here's just a visual representation of what AWD looks like. So, just for you guys to visualize the journey, Jeff, for example, right? So factory supplier, and this is Amazon's vision. So AMZ has something very similar in our roadmap, but freight and logistics, this means, okay, from your factory and supplier, what happens, right? This is your supplier. You move it through Amazon AGL, which is their global logistics. It's their, it's like our freight division. They have one called AGL, which is Amazon Global Logistics. They then send it to an AWD facility where they bulk store. So you send a full container from China, bulk store it in one of the Amazon AWD warehouses. They can replenish some B2B channels, right? Like wholesalers or Walmart WFS. And they can also replenish to Amazon, and it could happen automatically. You can do it yourself. On the next stage is delivery, right? So you see here, it could be going to the Amazon warehouse. You could be fulfilling to the end customer's warehouse, or it could be some other sales channel. And then here's the customer here. Customer buys, customer ships. So this is a good representation of what that journey actually looks like and how they've mapped it out, what a journey would look like if you tied your entire business into Amazon's program, which has its pros and cons, which I'm going to talk about afterwards. So just a little bit of context. Kim mentioned it there because her product's oversized. There's some limitation when it comes to Amazon AWD. And I'll tell you this front and center, this program is not for everyone, right? And we talk to a lot of brands that for one reason or another, we deter them away from it. And there's instances we actually encourage it and be like, hey, like use them and us. It's not an if then in this instance, but some of the eligibilities. You'll see here on the left, here's some of the key eligible categories, right? So apparel, baby products, beauty, books, so forth. Now, if it's apparel, it actually has to be a single SKU per box. So you can't have like, 3 different t-shirts inside of a box. It needs to be single SKU because apparel and is very difficult in the logistics world. It can't be like multiple or food. If anything with a expiration date for the most part is going to be challenging. So it needs to have an extended shelf life, which is one of the other challenges. And then there's a notice of the size tier, right? So you'll see here, the box needs to be a certain dimensions, weights. If it's above that, it's called conveyable. It basically means, can it fit on a conveyor belt? And if it can't fit on a conveyor belt, then, it's not eligible because, I wish I had a visual of like what our warehouse, but when you receive it from a truck, it goes on a conveyor belt and then we push it to the actual storage or we go and pallet wrap it and so forth. So if it doesn't fit on a conveyor, it's not a good fit. So some of the other categories that are absolutely not available, jewelry, watches, refrigeration, high ticket price items, heavy, bulky, oversized stuff like a mattress or so forth, not eligible for AWD, nor do I recommend it because of their pricing strategy. And some of the restricted goods, all pretty assumed, hazmats, hazardous, so on and so forth. See, yeah, so chocolate, you have to look at the expiration, but if it's in the meltable category, no fly zone. And I'll tell you why after, because chocolate is a very challenging category with Amazon because of meltable policy. But some other key considerations to even get eligible for AWD, your account needs to be in good condition. The listings need to be live and active, so they can't be stranded in an active state on your Seller Central store. Your account health needs to be strong, right? And everything needs to be pre-labeled. So if it's not pre-labeled, immediately cross yourself out of eligibility. It needs to have a corresponding barcode so that they can match it up, just like how you'd send to FBA. So, if it gets pre-labeled from the supplier, yeah, okay, you can do it. But if not, you'll have challenges accordingly. Okay. Let me get into some of the pros and cons. And I'll do this in a non-biased way, right? Because at the end of the day, AMZ also has a similar solution to AWD. But this is the truthful tactic that I talked to, $100 million pet brand last week. And literally, this is the reason I sparked this in the calculator was because I was having this conversation because they were looking at, hey, we're at this place where we're doing it all ourselves. We're shipping to a Cali facility and we're using AWD. And there were some challenges during Q4. So now they're at this crossroad. And this is exactly what I told them. So the pros of AWD, let me go with the positives first. One, it's cheaper than FBA. So if you're sending all your stock to FBA, you'll immediately see cost savings just by moving it over to AWD if it's eligible, right? It can be cheaper storage as a whole, as we summarized. The second piece is that it works automatically in terms of auto replenishments, right? So you can set up specific enablements and it can auto replenish to Amazon. Again, if you are, a growing brand, you guys have probably noticed Amazon's forecasting. It's a bit of a hit or a miss. So I personally, we don't use that with our brands. We have our own internal forecasting method, or there's really great tools like a Philiber, for example. It's an inventory forecasting tool that you can use, or Sellerboard and so forth. But this will automatically create a replenishment instead of you sending a message to your 3PL, hey, send this out, so on and so forth. This automatically does a replenishment on your behalf. It can do a level of shipping to wholesale suppliers. Now, there's nuances here, which I'll dive into on the next tab, but there is some limitations of what wholesale suppliers you can ship to, but it can do Walmart WFS just recently. So if you sell on Amazon and Walmart, amazing. It can do replenishments, but it's not always the fastest, which is one of the challenges, but it can do wholesale suppliers. There's no placement fees, so that's a huge plus. Some brands are paying anywhere from 30 cents to a few dollars in placement fees, so that's a big pro. And if you use Amazon AGL, which is Amazon's, if you guys remember the tab I showed a couple seconds ago, AGL is their freight division. If you use AGL plus AWD, you get a ton of pricing benefits. I think it's like 15% off the entire thing. So that's fair. But let me go into some of the cons. and some of the things that you'll have challenges with. Number one, most importantly, is the risk. So, depending on the size of your brand, right? One of the challenges is that, so what happened in Q4 was this big shutdown of Amazon AWD. Not because it's a bad program, but their Amazon sales team, some of you guys might have spoken to some of them, they oversold the capabilities of AWD. So everyone, and they said, hey, no placement fee. So all the sellers rushed, sellers that probably aren't a great fit for AWD, but they saw no placement, they saw cheap storage. They're like, let me get in. I'm gonna tackle it. And the facilities entirely froze. I don't know if you had one of these challenges, comment. I'm super curious if you got impacted during Q4, but their West Coast facilities completely shut down. You couldn't get product in, you couldn't get product out. We had brands getting rejected from AWD. And the stock that did leave AWD was taking 30, 40 days to send to the Amazon FBA facility, which caused a ton of breaks. What we learned from that, and you guys have probably seen me if you've went to multiple lives that I'm hosting, is that don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, we've all learned this at this point. And if we don't, we're just like, we're making a deal with the devil. And we love Amazon and there's a ton of benefits. But one of those key challenges is that if you end up utilizing them for your entire stock, they have the whole control. So we saw brands go from multi-million-dollar months in Q4 to zero. They had no stock in FBA. All of their stock was held inside of AWD, and they were also using that to send to Shopify, their local B2B suppliers. Like, it was completely in lock. And AWD is like, it's like case logs, right? You don't have someone that's picking up the phone or sending you a Slack message. You don't have that level of control. And that is one of the biggest challenges, is that if you're big enough with Amazon, you might be able to get the dedicated service that you need, but there's a level of risk that comes with that, which I'm going to be hammering in. Some of the other challenges of AWD, one, if there's a certain size tier, right? So as you see here, Kim had oversized, 25, 25, 25, under 50-pound cases. That's what Amazon FBA restrictions are. So if you're above that, it might be a conversation whether AWD is even like FBA is a good fit versus like fulfilling yourself. But no food, no meltable, that's a challenge as a whole. Shipments take a long time. So we saw AWD averaging, right now, they average anywhere from 15 to 30 days all in from the time you request it to the time it either goes to the Amazon DC, or if you're using it for Walmart WFS or other retailers, that's where the challenge is. And you can't use AWD for, this is a big misinterpretation that, well, you can use them for your retail. So some of you guys might sell into Target or Loblaws or Costco, or you have grand ambitions to do so. Amazon AWD, while they on paper can, these retailers, just like Amazon, have really strict compliance metrics of how quick it needs to get there, how it's packaged. AWD has had a mixed bag in terms of their performance to do so. So if you're selling to all these big retailers, or you have ambitions to get into Sephora or GNC or Vitamin Shop, whatever it might be, AWD can pose potential challenges potentially versus just using a 3PL to do those orders. I think one of the other big ones is that they can't do non-Amazon orders, right, from AWD. So you can't use AWD to fulfill your Shopify or your Walmart. You can use FBA, but that's a different story. So AWD is almost, it's a bulk injection point. So when you're sending it to a wholesaler, maybe, but just keep that in mind that it's not ready for a Shopify direct model. If you need that inventory, if you need it in 30 days, amazing. But if you need it immediately, you'll be in a bit of trouble. And I think the other thing is that if there's any prep work, so some brands like resellers, they might be doing bundles or co-packing or variety packs or trying new ways to generate customer demand. If it is a bundle, like AWD can't do that. Just if you guys picture in your head, AWD is just a big bulk holding bay, right? We have a few of our own DCs that look like this, like California. It's literally just racks and pallets. It's like there's nothing pretty about it, but that's what it does. It gets the job done at the end of the day. So the last thing that I would mention on my cons list is no one to speak to, right? If you use a 3PL or use your own facility, whatever else it might be, it's this level of control. If something goes wrong, there's a ton of Reddit posts about, hey, like I can't get a hold of someone. There's a bunch of challenges. Now, this isn't the case for everyone, but if you don't have that, what we call clout with Amazon, you might be posing some challenges, right? In terms of the level of control you can get because you have to go submit a case log. Right? And this was just some of the like the posts that we're seeing, right? It was just some of the challenges with AWD. Sam said, case logs, good luck. Yeah. Yeah. Define expensive. Tony, I'm about to. I'll define expensive in 1 second. Uh, Simon, is Amazon AWD available in the UK? No, sir. Amazon AWD is only available in the US at the moment. I'm in Toronto. We have a big office up here. It will come to Canada soon. It's just not a priority. US is where it is, but I could see that changing. Is your CA location a prep center or warehousing? We have both, Octavian, right? So we have something like an AWD, but we also have like what we just do like standard prep and labeling, or we're doing fulfillment like FBM, seller fulfill prime, so on and so forth. Let me get into some of the rates because I think that's why a lot of you guys are here. But we got a full house. I really enjoy all these comments. This is one of the most engaging. We got a lot of crew here. This definitely hit some bells and whistles. Okay, cool. All right, let me hopefully, Sharon, I didn't understand AWD. Drop down if that made sense of what AWD is. And let me go through pricing, and then I want to hit some Q&A with you guys. Okay. AWD pricing. What it looks like, how it works, and at the end I'm going to drop this calculator. So there's a few key things to consider with their fee. The pricing is quite simple, right? But it's a little bit complex depending on how you calculate it. So one is they have a storage fee, they have a case processing fee, and then they have the freight fee. It's just like us. Like it's simple, but there's nuances to each one. So storage fee, they charge a per cubic foot, right? So they charge 48 cents, and this is April 2025 pricing. So this is about to come out in 2 months. So just keep that in mind. Their storage fee is 48 cents per cubic foot. Like an average pallet is like 48, 40, 60 is what we traditionally do. So that's 32.50 a pallet if you want to just do some pencil math. They have a case processing fee, which is $2.70 per box. So that's to grab the box, move it, ship it. And you have to break that down, right? So depending on how many items you have, right? And if you have 100 items inside the case, divide 270 times 100. Like it's not that expensive if you look at a per item basis. They have the freight into Amazon, right? So they charge $1.15 as of April. They'll charge $1.15 per cubic foot to get into the Amazon hub. That's pretty good. Our other rates are way cheaper than this, but their freight, because they're just doing these moves, right? They get really good, what we call like middle mile into the Amazon DCs. So they charge $1.15 per cubic foot. And then the transportation, if it's a non-Amazon shipment, say you're sending to your mom's house. I don't know, maybe Kim's product, she wants 20 of them at her house, but it's $1.65 per cubic foot. And keep this in mind, AWD shipments, if you're sending non-Amazon, it could take 15, 20, 30 days. So if there's a strict deadline, this has to be a challenge. So just keep that in mind. Does this make sense? I'll hammer off these questions afterwards too. Again, this is a range. There's instances where it doesn't. Chime down. Yeah, like I would love to know what instances it doesn't. This is a rough idea of what you're going to calculate, and I'll show you guys the calculator so that you guys can actually see how much. If you guys have your box size, you'll be able to see exactly what your cubic foot is, which I'll share with you guys afterwards. So this is AWD pricing. Now let's compare it to FBA. Say you send the exact same amount to FBA. So your monthly storage, the one difference with FBA versus AWD is that FBA has seasonal, right? So they have what they call peak and non-peak. Peak is from October to December. Non-peak is January to September, right around that range. Someone said chocolate. There's a separate policy specifically for meltables, which is a whole other ball game to begin with. So Amazon has off-peak and on-peak pricing. And I just did storage because this is the biggest variable that you're going to be paying for. If you send all your stock to Amazon, they're charging 78 cents per cubic foot, right? And that's during off-peak. When you go to on-peak, it's $2.40 per cubic foot. AWD is a constant rate, right? It's meant to be like a bulk. Amazon FBA does not want your product there for long, right? Like we got to be very clear here. They are a fulfillment company. Their goal is to produce shipping labels and fulfill those orders. They do not want to keep it there forever. That's not the goal of what they're trying to accomplish. So AWD is strategically meant to look cheaper so that you keep all of it there. And if you could keep 3 weeks of supplies inside of FBA, that would be like the golden ticket for them. It's not ideal, obviously, but this is the model. So this is your FBA rate. Right? It just kind of gave you a rough idea of like what a pallet might look like, hypothetically, if it's 60 inches high. And then here's your AWD rate. I also throw in AMZ rate because I want you guys to be able to see that, just so you guys can benchmark. Every warehouse company might be a little bit different of how they price. Some are going to be way higher, some are going to be lower than this, depending on where in the world too, right? Like our Toronto facility versus like Ohio versus Texas, which is just cheap real estate. So keep those in mind. But AWD is a constant rate, no seasonal demand. FBA is peak and non-peak from a storage perspective. But you need both, right? Like you're going to need somewhere to store the stock, and you need to go FBA. Do not ever send all your stock to FBA unless like you have a local supplier that can do these. But if you're shipping anywhere internationally, there's a very high likelihood that like we don't keep more than 30 to 45 days inside of FBA, just strategically for the storage cost. But and this is actually an email that one of our guys put, but comparing it to AMZ, this is more about AWD versus the 3PL from pricing, right? So a way a 3PL might price, which is a whole other thing. A 3PL might price for inbound. They'll charge maybe like a case order fee. They'll probably charge a labeling fee, and they'll charge a pallet wrap fee. Like there's a few more fees. We tried to match AWD because we go against them so much. Like brands are usually saying, hey, like which one do we choose, or do we choose both, or what does that look like? But the way that we do it is like some of the key reasons they might choose us, or if a 3PL can also do the Amazon work and they do a ton of bulk volume, they may be able to get the same benefits as us, right? It's challenging to do, but we have a program that's no placement fees. So as long as we split the stock 5 ways, but we do so much volume into Amazon that it's the same thing, right? We do it identical to what AWD is doing. Now, the one thing that AWD has that we're building, which is our auto replenishment. So we're working on that. So basically, we already create shipment plans automatically through our platform, but that ability to auto create a replenishment, there's a ton of nuances because of the inventory forecasting. But that's just one of the really cool things. But and you'll see most of the reasons that a brand might choose a 3PL over AWD is things like they can do your other retailers like Walmart retail, Costco. Maybe you get into Target Plus, whatever else it might be. They might be selling on other marketplaces, right? So that is things like Walmart fulfillment. It could be their own e-com store. Obviously, TikTok Shop, which is a whole other beast that you guys are working with. So each one of these will have its own nuances, or it might just be risk, right? At the end of the day, brands want to limit the amount of risk that they put in terms of putting all their eggs in a basket with Amazon, and you have no one to talk to, you have no one to call. So anyway, this was one of the emails that the guys pitched, and I think they did a pretty good job. So what's best for you? And I want to go through our calculator after to show you guys my thoughts. If you are a seller that only sells on Amazon and maybe Walmart WFS, if those are the only 2 functions, AWD might not be a bad solution, assuming that you ship internationally and you just need a clean solution to bulk inbound to Amazon. AWD is a great product. It really got a bad rap because of all the delays that happened. And I'm hoping for the best for them, that those delays won't happen, or they'll be able to regain control. It's a great team there. But at the moment, brands are gun shy because of what happened during Q4. And will that happen again? Right? That's a big question. So if you're more of a private label seller, you're growing, maybe doing just a few shipments every month, AWD is okay. Like but if you're a brand that's thinking about, okay, how do I get into retail? How do I do omni-channel, right? How do I get on TikTok Shop? How do I fulfill Walmart? Or, you've already had a scare with Amazon where your account got suspended, or you can't, some of these things, like it's intimidating. And if you put all your eggs in that basket, you put your hand near the fire, you're going to get burnt. And, you don't come to me afterwards if you put all your stock inside of AWD and something goes wrong, right? That's a risk that you have to decide to take, because you want the benefits of this, Amazon AWD program. But I would also consider that only do it if you're large enough, right? Like if you can also get access to someone inside the Amazon team for AWD, maybe it might be worthwhile, right? Personally, we don't see it, and we talk to these massive, massive brands, but maybe you see something different. But I would say that if you are focusing on growth, or you're focusing on limiting risk, or you had challenges with inbound delays during Q4, I would find some flexibility behind using a 3PL or someone like us. Or having this nice balance in between. So some brands will tell me, like, go hybrid, right? Try out both. It's not, this is a two-way revolving door. So at the end of the day, like, you don't have to go all the way in, pilot it out. Maybe for you, you had a better experience compared to, hundreds that are watching this live event that had a little bit of a challenge in the past, right? Or, they go online to read reviews, and that's just one of the challenges that are happening. So this is my thesis. It's not a bad program, but you have to really weigh out your pros and cons. And if there's a solution like an AMZ, for example, that could be a little more strategic for you, I would say speak to them, right? Get multiple opinions, maybe talk to other brands and sellers about their feedback. But this is my initial synopsis of what I'm seeing happening. All right, let me show you guys the calculator. Yeah, I want to show you guys what it actually looks like. Drop in, and I'm going to answer a couple of these questions. Have you guys seen the calculator? Anyone here? Just drop yes or no. I'm curious if you guys have seen it or not. Octavian, Larnie, Joseph. No, Melanie? Okay, cool. Here, check this out. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Stop sharing. I'm going to go here. I can share my screen. Voila. Okay, can you guys see my screen now? Beautiful. Everyone's popping in now. Okay, good. So take a look at this. So if you want to use it, you have to make a copy, right? Because we had I think 3,000 or 4,000 people that viewed this over the past 4 days or so. And I hope all my calculations are correct, because I had a lot of pressure to make sure with the team. So what you have to do, someone inside the group chat, can you guys give me the dimensions of your box? So what I need is the length, width, dimension, and I also need how many units you have inside that box. Tony, Kay, Kim, I guess you might not qualify for it, but I would love to know. Octavian, Sam, case logs. Yeah, case logs do suck, Sam. I couldn't agree more with you. Okay, cool. Michelle, that's beautiful. Tony's here. Okay, great. Okay, so let me just run through the scenario of how you use it. So for example, you can input the data here, 12, 12, 15. Okay, and you have 48 units a box. Now, let's just assume we want 12 weeks of cover for FBA. I think that's overkill, but let's just say, for example, that we want 12 weeks, 3 months of coverage inside of Amazon. I think it's silly, but let's just agree. Now, Michelle, do you know your placement fee? Do you know how much you pay in placement fees? If you don't, check out this blog, right, that we made. So for example, here's how much the current placement fees are. It ranges. You pay $321 per item in placement. No, that can't be right, Michelle. That's really it's really expensive. Yeah, okay, you scared me. That makes sense. I'm going to assume it's small. So let's just assume it's maybe 16 cents. Now, if you guys use a 3PL, you can actually just run the exercise and put in your 3PL cost too right here, right? I don't know how much they cost. Say they cost 50 cents an item. And literally just take their total invoice, say it was $1,000, divided by total items that left the warehouse. I know you might be on a case level or whatever. It might just get a clear picture so you can do it. Here you can see the actual FBA fee. So here's FBA storage. Here's like AMZ, our warehouses, and how much it costs. And then here's the AWD direct shipments. So I built this calculator because we were talking to a brand and they're like, well, who's cheaper? You guys are AWD. So I was like, well, let me just show you. And so I built the calculator to do it, but you can use this for your own. You don't have to compare AMZ in this instance. Just use it to look at your AWD cost. So your cubic foot is 1.3 per cubic foot, right? So keep that number in mind, because now that you have some of the rates, you can now calculate what the cubic foot is, right? So 1.3 per cubic foot. And what you'll see here is that, okay, so here's your storage cost for AWD, right? So this would be, this is per box, right? On a call it 1 box a month, hypothetically speaking, right? So it's $1.20 for the storage cost. If you broke that down per unit, it's 3 cents. That's based off your 48 items per unit. You have your processing fee. This is just 1 box, right? So you can times that by the total. So that's 6 cents an item using AWD. And then the transportation cost. So they'll cost you $1.44 per box, right? In total cost. So when you end up breaking it down, right, your total per unit charge when using AWD is 11 cents. And again, there's pros and cons that you have to make a decision on. But when you break it down to that extent, you can start to see. Now, there's still freight to get it into the country, but if you use AWD and then send it to FBA, this is how much per item you'll end up paying. You also see here, here's your cost for storage, right? So peak and non-peak. And here's the per item pricing. FBA analysis, peak, non-peak, right? And you can see all the calculations. You guys can play around with it after. But you also see AMZ right here. So so a ton of brands use us for like an AWD style where we're just bulk injecting to Amazon. Very similar. Is that, here's the total cost. So we're cheaper across the board for the most part. It's just, we have specific facilities in regions that just make it more cost effective. We'll charge $1 something per box, or Amazon AWD is charging $2.70. The only thing, so our transportation is slightly higher, right? We charge like $2.50 a cubic foot, while they might charge $1 something. But if you break it down per item, we're literally identical. And again, I end up trying to do a non-biased perspective, like, okay, well, here's the pros and cons of both sides, right? Like if you use an AMZ prep, and I say an AMZ prep, because you might have a 3PL partner that does some of these things if they're very focused on Amazon like we are. But here's the costing, here's how much it costs, so on and so forth. And some of the challenges, size restrictions, capabilities, AWD can't do D2C. So if you're selling on, TikTok or Shopify, they can't do it directly and support some of the bigger retailers like Nordstrom or Sephora's or Ulta's and Targets of the world. But you have options, right? So play around with the calculator. Create a copy if you need to mess around with it. It's badass, and give some feedback. I want to do more of these. The team had a fun time making this analysis. So if this works for you and you guys have other types of calculators you want built or tools, like I get 100 of these emails all the time. So just drop me what you're cooking up, and I'm happy to support. All right, let's go through a couple questions. I want to help you guys out. I'm just going to go through some of the other ones. I'll spend another 5 minutes before I jump off. Martin, great calculator. Thanks. Not a huge difference, but are those prices in USD or Canadian? These are in USD. Because Amazon AWD is only in the US at the moment, just keep that in mind. And it will range, right? Just because the Canadian market's a little bit different. But yeah, Tony, so same thing, 24, 24, 24. Yeah, like you guys will have a really high cubic foot. So AWD will be very expensive for you guys, right? Like you literally maxed out the cubic foot of the box. 24 is the max that you're sending anyway. So keep that in mind. Your cubic foot is going to be, if we go 24, 24, 24, you're an 8 cubic foot, right? So AWD, you're getting charged $8 a box, right? Like that's like storage is $8. Your transportation's $9. Maybe you have a ton of products in there, 18 to 20. So no, right? So you're end up paying 41 to 54 cents. Right? With us, it's a little bit higher. So again, you have options to play with. I saw some questions up here before. Michelle had a question. Octavian. So Octavian, you said, so you send full trucks to reduce inbound fees, correct? Yeah. So what we do is that we have enough bulk going to all the DC. Like we're shipping bulk cumulative probably like 8 to 10 million items a month going to Amazon between all of our different sellers and brands. So because of this, we split stock. So we'll split the shipment 5 ways, or how many we need to reduce placement. But we have a truck going to, and we pre-booked these appointments a while ago. So what happens is that we have trucks going to every DC, and we're allowed by Amazon to mix products, right, into different containers and different brands. So we have VIP access. So we'll just bulk inbound. And because of this, we're just much faster inbound time. Because we pre-booked it, we can mix and match a bunch of brands. So all these brands, some brands don't even use this for the work. They just use this for the freight, right? That's the easiest way. So it's like you're hitchhiking our freight going to Amazon, but there's no placement fees. Yeah. Is AMZ in Canada? And if so, where? Michelle, like, is AIM like us or Amazon? So Amazon has a bunch of DCs. A lot of these things in the US haven't hit Canada. So placement fees, AWD, so on and so forth. Those actually aren't a thing yet in Canada. But they have a bunch of warehouses. Like we're in Toronto, right? Like that's one of our key hubs, but we have a few in the US facilities. But like there's a big Amazon Brampton. It's like YYZ. Everyone Anyone in Canada probably knows it. It's the big facility. But let me know your question. Yursa asked, is it possible? Let me just mark this as a question. I want to see this bad boy. Is it possible that the AWD algorithm might not catch overselling or new launches and miss replenishments? Great question. Yes. The challenge, so we're building our auto replenishment as we speak because we get questions about it to see if, hey, can you just auto deplete our stock? So we have to do it manually because, to your point, you're like, there's nuance, right? Like a new launch, Amazon's algorithm won't take that into effect, right? Versus or there's a new program where maybe you got a discount on a product. Amazon's forecasting tool is very linear, right? It's very product in, product out based off of a few calculations. How much stock you have, how many orders per day, how long is it going to take to get there, right? It's like a sheet calculator at the end of the day. So yes, right? It's a lot of the reasons brands don't use it, especially larger ones, is they might have a more complex forecasting or they have nuances like new product launches. So it's one of the challenges that we're dealing with of like how to contextually do this. It's hard. My suggestion, if you're using AWD, just do them automatically. It's not that hard, right? But people are lazy, and I can't blame them. Okay, cool. A couple really good questions here. My opinion, AWD is not useful for those who sell small cartons. Am I right? Yes. AWD is not a good program if you're not sending LTL or full truck. AWD will not allow you to ship in small parcel basis from the last one that I saw. You have to go full truck or LTL into those Amazon AWD facilities. So if you're selling small parcel, it's not a good fit for you. You're probably not there yet from a growth perspective. Continue to do it yourself or use your 3PL. Thanks, Kay, for dropping that link. That's great. Yeah, just create a copy of it. And then email me, blair@amzprep.com. I would love to get your feedback on it or respond to the replay afterwards. Okay, Caitlin Moore. Does this work with mixed SKU cases, non-clothing items? Yes, like there is some extent. I'm curious what you guys have seen. The one that gets flagged is specifically for apparel, where it's like a mixed level basis. That's where the biggest challenge is. But almost all of our brands, because they're shipping from overseas, they're doing one case per SKU. Also for the complexity in this, like it's simple, it's clean. The injection will go there. It's a case level pack size. So Kayla, I personally recommend always do single, even if you use a 3PL like us, like it is so much easier, right? When it's all packed one SKU per case. So if you have the ability to do it, please, I'd highly suggest for it and for your own sanity. Sharon, thank you. Yeah, of course. AMZ Prep. Yeah, we have a few facilities. Our big one's in Toronto, Canada. Is there a minimum billing requirement for AMZ? So it depends, right? So we usually have a few hundred items. Like if we're prepping, that's usually the baseline where it's like, we have a calculator go like, hey, should you do it yourself or should you utilize a 3PL? And we actually use that calculator. So it might not be a good fit because it probably makes sense to do it yourself. Or if it's not a good fit for AMZ, we end up just introducing a partner. We have a few smaller facilities, us back in the day that we can always refer you over to. Shiv, is AWD equipped to send stock to other B2B D2C customers from other channels? Great question. So in short, no, right? So they cannot ship to an end customer, right? They can only ship to retailers. Like if you have a box of 12, they can ship it to, anywhere you want. They charge a little bit more in transportation. If you saw, it's $1.65 a cubic foot. They can do it, but they can't go to these very specific retailers like a Walmart, a Sephora, a Target, because they require very strict inbound compliance. I don't know if you've ever seen it, you ship to retailers, it's a nuisance. Like there's a ton of specific things for good reason. When you can get the appointment, when you can deliver it, the compliance in place. So, if you're inbounding to Walmart WFS or you have a small retailer that buys your product, no problem. Like if they're not fussed about when it comes and how it comes, easy peasy for the B2B side. So they can call it basic B2B. D2C, they can't do. You'd have to send it to FBA or you have to send it to a 3PL, and then they would do the end customer fulfillment like an AMZ for Shopify, or you send it to yourself and, you get down and dirty, Farzan, and start doing those orders. Michelle, yeah, we have a few facilities in the West. We have California. We have a facility in Vancouver. a few others. Michelle, you can always just message me and I'm happy to make some intros. Could you share the link to the calculator to decide if it makes sense for smaller sellers to partner with AMZ Prep? That's a great calculator. Okay. Yeah, the one that I had, I'll share it over with you. Just email me and I'll help out. All right. Giselle asked, I'm going to answer three or four more. When dealing with hazmat items like perfumes, would partnering with 3PL be more efficient than AWD? So Giselle, great question. You might actually not have a choice, right? Amazon AWD is very restricted with hazmat and what they allow. You'll even see like some brands with hazmat, they can't even use FBA, right? Like you have a limited hazmat storage. We have like a brand that does like lighter fluid, right? They crush it, or deodorant and so forth. Some things just get flagged as hazmat. AWD will not allow it most of the time. You can check your eligibility. Very high likelihood that you don't have the ability to do so. So you have to partner with, whether it's a 3PL, whether it's your own, if you want to store it in your garage, depending on the size of it, but you need a facility to manage that. Again, if you're doing multi-channel anyway, you need a warehouse. Like AWD is not going to fulfill TikTok, right? So like, and there's some instances where it just makes sense regardless. It depends on where the supplier is, but find one near your supplier. That's going to be the most strategic way. Okay, Sam, let me take this. I got two more questions here. If shipped from China directly to your 3PL facility, how do you handle goods in damaged condition? So Sam, this is a great question. It'll probably be the same for most warehouses, right? Like we have an inbound QA process. It's QA, it's like quality assurance. We've gotten so fancy over time. Basically what happens is like we'll do it's like a 32-point inbound inspection. So we're doing a receiving, depends on how they want us to receive. Some brands just want us to check boxes. Some of us actually say like, hey, open up every box, take out every item, count it, plug it in, smell it. Like we get kind of a mixed range of what the request is. But yeah, we receive it. Traditionally, some brands want us to take photos and then we provide an inbound receipt. So if it's damaged, there's a few ways. Usually like our CSM will like take a photo, submit it, and then you guys decide. We partner with local charities not too far away, so we'll donate it during like Christmas or one of the charity drives. We can ship it back to the supplier. You can take it home with you. It just depends on what the brand wants, to be honest. Sam, it's a great question. Okay, Michelle, could you please send me your email? Yeah, it's just Blair at AMZ Prep. You can always just drop it down below. Okay, cool, guys. One more question. Fire it away on AWD. I would love to hear the thoughts. I'm going to go through. And Keith, yes, you'll get a presentation right after this. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I'll fire that over afterwards. Or if anyone's had any experience with AWD and you want to come up and talk to me directly, I'm happy to. See if there's any other questions from before. So Joseph, chocolate, Amazon AWD is not a good fit. Amazon also has a program, which is the Amazon Meltable category. That basically means from like, May to September, something along those lines, you're not allowed to inbound at all to Amazon FBA. So if you hit a meltable like chocolate, you have to fulfill the orders yourself. We're building a new program because we do Seller Fulfill Prime. It's a new program we're really pushing this year where we fulfill Prime to the end customer, but we get a Prime badge on it. It's really great for like heavy, big and bulky stuff that FBA kills you with fees. Or, we're talking to a couple of really big chocolate brands or like probiotic brands that need us to fulfill the end customer, but we do it with a Prime badge. Right? So it depends on what the brand needs, but they have to go FBM. So if you go FBA, when you switch on FBA to FBM, you might lose 70% of your sales, right? That's how drastic it can be. It's overkill, but to that extent, right? So that Prime badge is pretty much everything. Okay, cool. Here, one more question. Is there additional costs for QC? Yeah, Sam, drop me an email. I'll make an intro. We can try to hash it out and help you out however we can. Okay, that's my recap of AWD. I'll drop you guys the calculator in the video after the session too. If you guys have other ideas of workshops you guys want, let me know. But this one with my LinkedIn post blowing up and everything, I knew I had to host something. So I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys got some insight of AWD, what we're doing, what we're giving insight on, and just trying to make the right decision for y'all. So anyway, hope you guys crush the day. Good luck with the rest of September, and check out my LinkedIn post, my world tour, Chicago. So it was Chicago yesterday. We got Ohio, California, Austin, Texas, Salt Lake City, Utah, several places in Florida, Vancouver, Canada. We're hosting a female founder event in Toronto in like 3 weeks. February 12th, we're hosting it. We have like Hyla from Shop 437, Three Ships Beauty, Monday Girl. Like it's so if you're in Toronto, anyone here, and then I'm hosting 2 more in later February and March. One is going to be at Expo West in California. That's March 5th. We're hosting this big dinner with all these really big brands. If you want to come to that, and then we're hosting a meetup in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I'll be all around. Hit me up on LinkedIn or send me an email where you're at. I want to make new friends. I want to hang out. Let's grab dinner. Let's talk shop. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the day. See you later.